In progress.
Namaste and welcome to Satsang. Just before I get into Satsang, I want to say this so that it's on the recording so that as many people as possible hear it. We've been having comments on YouTube videos saying that adverts are appearing in the middle of, not just either side of at the beginning or ending of a satsang or a recording, but also in the middle too. And I just want to say clearly that I have never and will never monetize this channel in this way, the YouTube channel. Unfortunately, it seems that YouTube have decided to do whatever they like anyway, regardless of what the channel creator owner decides that they want. So with that in mind, I'd like to ask if there's anyone that knows any way around this. Of course, there's YouTube Premium, but you know that costs money. Someone also suggested to use ad block, which I'd forgotten about. Works on a computer, not so much on a mobile phone or some other similar device. You can download ad block for free and install it on your computer, and it will stop adverts appearing completely. So unfortunately, right now, there's nothing that we can do about it. But if anyone who's watching this knows any way around this at all, if you're a channel creator yourself, if you have a YouTube channel, I'd love to hear from you. You can either leave a comment under this video when it goes on YouTube, or you can email us at evolutionofspirit@gmail.com. Thank you, thank you. It's obviously a money-making thing for YouTube, but it does disturb and interrupt in the middle of a guided meditation or something like that for an advert to come on. So my apologies about that, and we're working on it. If there's anything we can do about it at all, we absolutely will. So So I have 4 questions here that have been sent in. I'll read those and then I'll take up to another 4 questions here live. So let's get started. This one says, hi there. Last year I felt very drawn to go on a Vipassana silent retreat, but didn't have the opportunity. In the meantime, I started the Dissolving the Ego program with you in January and found it transformational. I wondered if you had any thoughts about whether it would be worthwhile me going on a 2-week silent Vipassana retreat this summer, or whether it would ultimately end up conflicting or interfering with the process I'm currently engaged in. I've been doing my Dissolving the Ego meditation every day and find it so helpful. So would like your view on whether a Vipassana retreat would ultimately be more likely to help or hinder this process. So it's not so much what we're doing spiritually, it's more about why we're doing it. So you could go to the Vipassana retreat and go because you just want to deepen what you're already seeing, and it would be beneficial in addition to that. Or if you go, okay, if I do twice as much, I'm going to get there twice as fast, it would be detrimental to that because it's coming from a separate self and a doingness in that. So if you feel the call to go, absolutely go, and you'll get whatever you need from that. The only thing I would say is to not mix the 2 types of meditation. It's fine to do as many types of meditation as you like, but the ones that you're learning in the Dissolving Ego book or course, or as part of the graduate program, they're best done on their own as a standalone thing, because we lose the we stand the chance of losing the magic and the simplicity and the power of the practice of meditation that we're learning, like listening to the silence, resting in the stillness, if we combine it with something else. So I don't see any conflict in that. Bearing in mind you are already the infinite self, so if you believe there might be a conflict, you might experience that. So just to check that out, and maybe that's why you sent this in anyway. So I don't see any reason that you couldn't or shouldn't go. Enjoy it, have a wonderful time. just maybe take your 20 minutes at some point and do your dissolving ego meditation separate to the Vipassana, and then you'll get the most out of both practices. So sometimes subtle ways that the mind tries to distract or slow down our progress, resist our progress with combining things like that. So this one says, a question about how Dissolving Ego book relates to the Kundalini awakening. Could pushing forward with this meditation prior to fixing all of my traumas, triggers, and character imbalances potentially force this Kundalini awakening too soon, causing some sort of psychosis or very uncomfortable awakening process? I see how accessing this contextual field, separating it from the mind and body, brings me to this place of bliss, which, as the book said, I would begin to crave, and I do. However, I have since then been feeling a lot of different kinds of sensations and movements of energy and random burning sensations throughout my body since incorporating this practice with my Qigong, and it led to a huge breakthrough for me. But also, all these strange sensations accompanied it, and I'm not sure whether I'm forcing this Kundalini awakening too soon or not. Thank you so much. So I'll say the same thing again with this one. It's absolutely fine to do Qigong, and of course you're going to be drawn to something like that as your awakening deepens, perhaps. But I would not do them together. I would not combine them. And maybe that's not what you meant. Maybe you're doing both separately at different times during the day. But if you're not, again, because you'll lose the power of any authentic spiritual practice is in the simplicity behind it. And if we are combining two of them, that's the way that mind goes back to complexity. So it's fine to do both of those, but separately, and that will probably stop the burning sensations from arising. As for Kundalini in general, Kundalini awakening, I have found that awakening to the truth first is the only, so following the practice in the book, coming to see that you are, and what we're talking about in Satsang also, that you are everywhere and everything, that there's nothing separate to you, that you are form and formless. To me, that, in my experience as well, has been the only safe way to allow Kundalini to arise, to awaken on its own. Spontaneously, when it arises, it's the right time. And actually, that's the only way we can actually work through our traumas, triggers, and samskaras, karmic patterns, whatever you want to call them. It's the only way that we can come to a final conclusion. I can't bring myself to a place of feeling good enough as a separate being, feeling worthy, because I inherently feel separate from the divine as a separate being. So inherent in that is a feeling of lack of safety, lack of worthiness, lack of being loved and lovable. So for me, I started my journey trying to raise the Kundalini and doing a lot of meditation aimed at that. And it simply brought up all of my triggers, all of my karmic patterns. And I had no idea that it would do that or how to resolve those. There were no tools or techniques, and they seemed extraordinarily real. And of course, because I couldn't fix them, that couldn't heal and release them. Because I was raising the Kundalini, trying to do it myself, very much as a doer, as someone. And the energy would rise, and then some pattern would come that I couldn't resolve, usually unworthiness or fear. And then it would sink back down again because I didn't have the right understanding. Only when I come to see that I'm not separate to anything, that I am formless, that I'm safe, that I am the source of love, can I actually really look at this idea that I'm not good enough and go, you know what, that's just never been true. This is not safe. Well, you can't get much safer than being the source of all creation, because you're not extinguishable at all. So Eventually, after a lot of suffering, I stepped away from that path completely and came back around into non-duality, so to speak, to the techniques in the Dissolving Ego book and course, like we're learning here on Satsang 2, or unlearning, whichever, and came to a profound realization of who I really am. And then this Kundalini began to rise on its own, spontaneously, and all that went with that was this clearing out of the energy system within the body. It's still going on, mostly done, but still every now and again something pops up. But with the tools, the understanding, the recognition of who you really are, you can actually really finally release those. So it's a good thing to check. It's a really good thing to ask and to find out. My experience is this has been the only safe way. I saw so many beings, count myself lucky that I wasn't one of them, who absolutely had a very horrible experience trying to raise the Kundalini when there wasn't the conceptual awakening first. They didn't know what was happening to them. Brought up a lot of fear, a lot of unworthiness, and Kundalini in itself is just life force. It's no different than the prana we're breathing in through the air. So there's really no need to be scared of it. There's a whole lot of myth and just absolute false information on the internet about it. Kundalini itself rising is a natural process when we begin to move away from believing all these thoughts about ourselves. This life force has been tied up, so much energy it costs us to believe we're separate beings. Like constantly holding this ball down under the water. So much energy. We've been just doing it forever that we've forgotten how much it takes. So when we let go of that, of course, something's going to rise, but it will rise organically, spontaneously, naturally. Along with it comes the wisdom then to know what to do with the energy. So whether that's deep breathing or doing some yoga or Qigong, something like that to help the energy flow. But remembering it's not different to you. Kundalini is not outside of you, separate to you. It's another name for you. First, I was terrified of everything I'd read. And it's probably more of an answer than you need, but than you wanted. But hopefully this is helpful. When we let it rise on its own, it happens by itself naturally, and we find our way through that process. When we try to make it rise, it doesn't work anyway, because we're not the doer, we're not a separate being. And the idea that we are the doer is actually pushing the energy back down. As fast as we're trying to rise it up, it's going to go back down the Sushumna Nadi. It's not going to be able to rise all the way up anyway, because the opening of the crown chakra is the union with God, with self, with the divine. The recognition that I always was that is actually needed to complete the process anyway. And I know there are many paths that encourage that way around. It just didn't work for me. So I'm glad that the meditations that you're learning in the book are really, really beginning to bear fruit. And I don't see any conflict with you moving deeper into it at all. The wisdom will come from the understanding that which deepens that I'm not separate to anything. Even the Kundalini, there's nothing to be scared of. Although we may have experienced the idea that Kundalini is dangerous or too powerful, or that my body doesn't know what to do with it, that doesn't mean it was ever true. I really experienced those beliefs. That's why I'm saying that. So hopefully that gives you reassurance with it. And you're not forcing it anyway. It's happening. This question is arising spontaneously now. Now you begin to feel energy moving already. And the meditation that we're learning here is not a doing anyway, is it? It's just a being. It's a seeing. Just listening to the silence, or noticing the contextual field in which all of this is arising. It's not forcing anything. So it's good to check. Okay, number 3. Hi, I'm very grateful to you. Thank you. I love your kind and flexible approach to non-duality. I keep seeing synchronicities. Often, this is a positive experience, but other times, whether it's real signs or not, I interpret them as saying that I'm making a mistake, doing the wrong thing in some way, and get afraid. Sometimes I feel resistant and unwilling to heed it, but afraid of what happens if I don't. Thus, in a conflict and suffering, I'm so fed up of trying to get life and spirituality right, of relating to God like I did to parents as a child. I don't want to try. I kind of want to throw it all out the window and indulge in whatever I want, even if it might be bad for me, but I'm afraid to. So all this comes from this idea that you're choosing what to do as a separate being. All this comes from this idea, I either get this sign and I follow it, or I don't. Well, what's choosing whether that's going to happen or not? Just nothing at all. You will either follow it or you won't. There is no separate entity called you who is making that decision. When you really let that in, a lot of this just falls away anyway. And you can feel the effects of the doer. I need to get this right. I need to make sure God likes me before I head home. You know, that old one. Fear of God, fear of life, fear of other people. It's just fear. It's a feeling that I'm not safe as I am right now. And that's playing out as I might do the wrong thing or not do the right thing here. So I would absolutely throw it all out the window. I would highly encourage you to stop trying to do anything. If you can right now, stop trying to fix anything about you. Stop trying to make your awakening happen and be willing to see that it might already be deeply, deeply in progress. More willingness to see what's already going on for me than willingness to try to make something happen. That's how we surrender bit by bit. And even if you can't do it all at once, of course, nobody can. I'm just going to sit to meditate today because I want to, not because I should or I have to. I'm going to join the satsang because it feels nice. No other reason at all, not because I need to do this to wake up. There's a huge difference in the outcome and the feeling and the energy and the intention of those. How do you know that what you want to do might be bad for you? Actually, what you really want to do is really, really good for you. But just be clear, what do I really want to do? I might throw my toys out the pram. I don't know if you say that saying, but because I'm so tired of trying to do this awakening thing, and I'm just going to binge a whole weekend on Netflix and do nothing spiritual at all. Not that I ever did that, of course, you know, had a tantrum. So what? Do that. It's fine. Absolutely do that. You'll come back to the path then Monday morning or whenever. I quit so many times. I think one time I managed to last 48 hours before I found myself doing something spiritual again. And I found out then what I really wanted. What I really wanted was to be just enjoying myself. If I came to my awakening, my spirituality from there, everything I did, meditation, contemplation, inquiry was highly successful. If I came from a place of trying to get it right, or I should, then everything was completely unsuccessful. So why are you here in satsang? What's the motivation? Is it to get somewhere, or is it to see where you're already at? One's an endless journey that goes on forever, and you never, ever arrive, ever. 100,000 lifetimes, human bodies could come and go, you still wouldn't arrive. Or you could arrive now by seeing, I'm already here, and that's just reflecting clearer as the body and mind, through the body and mind, and my life in general. So find out what you really want to do, and you'll be quite surprised. Like, what do I really want to do? What is it that I really want to do right now? Something inside will just go, I don't have to figure that out. And then 10 minutes later, what do I really want to do right now? And then 10 minutes later, an hour later, what do I want to do right now? And you can move spontaneously through life, through your awakening, through all of it like that. So what you really don't like is a sense of doing. That's what you really don't like. And that's what you really want, is to let go of that. Metaphorically, throw it out the window, as we say. Last one to read out. Hi there. I have a question to ask Helen, which might help others in the same situation. It's been around 12 years now of seeking and 5 of non-duality. My practice was to rest in the space between thoughts. After some time, it seemed like things changed, and the sense of resting in the space was no longer needed. As the space grew and thoughts have become a lot less. I know I am the space, silence, stillness itself, but it doesn't bloom, for lack of a better word. I've relaxed into this silence for years. It has a peace to it, but it has a peace to it, as it's not jumping around as thought does. Yet it hasn't deepened into anything I could call love or real peace, as it's just a simple silence and is somewhat dull, to be honest. I'm not laughing at you. I'm not laughing at you at all, the person that said this. I'm laughing because I remember saying that. I remember, God, this silence is just so dull. It's just like boring. Why would I want to spend time listening to it? I'm not saying that that's what you're saying. I just reminded me of my own journey. When I inquire, is there more to this silence? I'm met with silence, but it's the same simple silence. Sometimes it brings up a lot of felt energy in my body, mainly the perineum and head, and then thoughts of needing a Kundalini awakening arise, as that's how it looks and feels. Feeling pretty frustrated now, and I understand I'm not a separate entity, even had a glimpse to prove it, yet the silence won't budge, and I feel stuck. Why isn't the silent stillness coming more forwards and only showing up as a hum of dull silence? Thank you. Well, I think this is probably representative of 100 million of us on this planet right now, this feeling. And it was the same for me. So here's something I really would like you to really listen and maybe write down, maybe ponder a couple of times, because it took me a good long while to figure this out. So mine says, because the silence isn't deepening into peace, love, well, no, it's already peace, you said, but love, joy, bliss, all the things that we want. Because the silence is staying the same, I feel frustrated. Cause, effect. Mine says, because it's not deepening, I feel frustrated and probably angry, disappointed, if we're really honest, sad, betrayed. I was told that this whole awakening thing was going to lead to all the goodies, the infinite bliss and all of that. So mine says, because this is happening, I feel, or this is not happening, I feel this way. And I want you to flip that over. Because you feel frustrated, the silence cannot deepen. Because you've been trying to work it out this way, it doesn't work, does it? Your mind's trying to explain why there's frustration in the body, which is only a milder form of anger. And mind likes to split things into cause and effect. It likes to say, because this is happening, I feel this way. But what if the lack of deepening was a reflection, a mirror image of the belief that's behind frustration? So if we look at anger, anger says, I can't get what I want, I'm blocked, it's not fair. And frustration, I would suggest asking anger what it wants to tell you. That's what it told me when I asked it that question. Frustration is a milder form of anger. And to me, frustration said to me, it's coming, but it's coming so slowly. It's taking too long. What I want is coming, but it's taking too long. In this case, peace, love, and joy, all those goodies that we signed up for. So if you can be willing to think differently and turn that on its head, can you really allow peace, joy, infinite bliss if you're still believing somewhere inside that you're at the effect of time and space and progress and process? Because that's the belief that goes along with being a separate being. This belief is coming up saying, please question me, please contemplate me. And on the YouTube channel, there's a playlist called Core Teachings on Satsang with Helen Hamilton. And one of those is called contemplation. It shows you how to work with a question. So you have this belief that's also appearing as frustration and also appearing as lack of progress. So the idea, the emotion, and the physical manifestation are all the same thing, and neither one can go without the other. And we can't really release this while we've got them backwards. So there's no cause and effect in the way that we think. You're not frustrated because you can't make progress. You're just frustrated because of this deeper idea inside that I'm still subject to time and space. And it's something, even time, can block my deepening, my seeing. So is that true? Is that really true? That you're at the effect of time and space, that it's coming but slowly? Can that be true for you? You said here, I know I am the silence, the stillness. Can the stillness be blocked by anything? Is it outside or inside of time and space? Is it affected by it? The most important thing, the best thing I want you to hear is that you need to flip it around. So I'm not frustrated because I'm just frustrated. And what does frustration want to say? And then as you question that belief that comes up, it'd be something about, you can see irritation is like something or someone's getting in the way of my progress. Frustration says it's coming, but it's too slow. Impatience, it's taking too long. They're all sort of mild forms of anger, aren't they? If you see those. So your experience of your awakening is a reflection of what ideas are holding inside. And our mind can't see this. So it tries to explain why you're frustrated, and it points out there, that person out there, that lack of money, that lack of joy, bliss, peace is the reason I'm frustrated, says mind. And it really believes that, but has it worked? Has all this time worked to actually solve it like that? Not at all. Or infinitesimally slow. So you flip it around, because I'm frustrated, there's a lack of this in my life, or that person's been rude to me, or whatever is going on. And then you can heal it from there. Can you be limited by anything? Even time and space is the infinite self. And as you really hold that question gently, is it really true that this is taking too long? Even though it seems to be your direct experience right now, your experience is showing you what you're still holding on to inside, that you're someone waking up to truth. And consciously, mentally, you might not believe that, but somewhere inside the egoic sense of self, we still do, the separate sense of self. So contemplation is a way to unravel these, asking a question, is it true? Or unravel these strands that are still left of the egoic sense of self, so that we can begin to experience our natural state, abundance of all things, peace, joy, bliss, a deep love, radiant silence that is so incredibly alive, abundance of time, patience, energy, money, whatever it is that you need on an outer level. So have a go with that and see. Okay, so we will go to Gillian. Sorry if I mispronounce it. It'll take me a few times to get it. There we go.
Hi, Helen.
Hi.
I was wondering if you would pronounce my name right.
Did I say it right? Gillian.
Gillen.
Gillian. One more time.
Gillen.
Gillen. Right. I think I've got it now. Yeah.
So I guess I wanted to give you an update on how things have been since last we spoke. And if I'm being honest, I feel a need for validation.
Mhm.
And I also have a question.
So you'll get it from your own self.
Yes.
Yeah.
So when we spoke last time, I had been in that kind of euphoric state for maybe 2 days.
Mhm.
I was crying, laughing. There was fear. There was so much love, and there was a lot of energy going through my body. And when I look at the video now, I imagine that this, because I was laughing like out of control. I couldn't really control my laughing. And I guess that I'm imagining that it was probably just like a release or something, right? Okay.
It's kind of a release, and it's also really kind of funny. Like, oh my God, I had it so backwards,
Yeah, that too. Like I was in shock also. So I don't like to use the word experience, but the way that I was perceiving reality then, I literally felt like I was the now. There was like time didn't mean anything, space didn't mean anything. Everything was me. So when I was looking at the world, it felt like I was looking at myself in a mirror. Even my body was just another object appearing.
Yeah.
No, it was like so weird.
No
that
more
I-
special than the table, but equally as loved. Yeah, equally as loved.
Yeah, like one of the videos that I watched from you from a while back, you were mentioning a garbage truck backing up, and that actually happened to me. And I was listening to the garbage truck to see if I would feel love for it, and I literally bursted in tears because I felt so much love for the garbage truck backing up. So the whole thing was just crazy. So after the satsang ended, like almost immediately after, I had what I think was like a mind attack or an ego attack.
Yep.
It felt like the ego just threw everything at me, shame, unworthiness, fear, sadness. It was just brutal. As if you could wake up, you're nothing, you're nobody, you're disposable. Disposable is a word that I was hearing a lot. You looked crazy. She's going to put that on YouTube. Everybody's going to think you're insane and crazy. You're ruining your life. What are you doing? That spiritual stuff is ridiculous. You're going to end up living under a bridge. You like all of that stuff. It was like so
I was
scary.
gonna end up living under a river. And I think Claire was going to end up in a skip because she'd be homeless because she should just get on with real life, stop this nonsense. Yeah,
exactly. It was just like an onslaught, and it lasted for maybe, I don't know, 24 hours.
Yeah.
And honestly, I couldn't really do much about it, except I felt like I was just kind of trying to hold my head above water.
It's like treading water, like, yeah.
Waiting for it to be over. And thank God, you have all that information on your channel, because I had seen a video where you were mentioning this, and you were kind of saying that it was normal, it was just stuff coming up. And so I was just holding on to this idea and just trying not to believe all of those thoughts. But of course I got carried away, and I did believe some stuff.
It's
and I was
fine.
gone for a few hours, and
Yeah.
but eventually it's
Did you quit the pathway? No. Well, so you did better than I was having a tantrum, right? I'm not doing any more of that stuff. It's bonkers,
No, I didn't quit. Yesterday I felt like quitting.
Oh well,
but
yeah.
I'll get to that. But so like the following day, I woke up, I was feeling a little bit better, and it kind of subsided slowly. And then some spiritual missions started popping up. Like the first thing that appeared, because once that attack subsided, I was kind of back to feeling really peaceful, and and then suddenly the thought popped up, oh, I really have to heal my relationship with my dad.
Yeah.
And that felt really real and true. And so I accepted the mission.
and then it's a small stone's throw to, I need to save the world.
Well,
right?
What happened is literally immediately as I accepted the mission, poof, another one popped up like a mushroom, poof. And it was like, yeah, what about my brother? I really should heal my relationship with my brother. We don't really speak enough and blah, blah, blah. So the
I'm
mission
not
about
laughing at you, I'm laughing that could have been there, done that.
I know. The mission about my dad felt true and honest. And then the mission about my brother came with a little bit of there was an uncomfortable feeling.
It was from a place of separation, right? Yeah.
Yes, it was like a bit of guilt and feeling responsible.
Yeah.
And then, so I didn't accept that mission out of love. I accepted it out of guilt more.
Yeah.
And then as soon as I accepted that one, poof, another one popped up. And now that was my
ego
next.
says, wait a minute, I've got a whole list here of things you need to fix, right? Yeah.
And that's what I realized. They just kept popping up like this. As soon as I would accept one mission, another one would pop up. And then I was like, whoa, this is never going to end. Yeah. Like I realized this is never going to end. So I inquired about what was happening. And so I realized that what was happening was a symptom or a manifestation of something that I was thinking, because if I have to heal all these relationships with those seeming others, that means there are other people. So I realized
we have a winner.
This can't be real. So I was like, got you, ego. Yeah. So I figured it was unworthiness.
And it's what does heal mean to me? If I suddenly have this urge to heal some relationship, is it to fix this thing that's happening between me and this other being? Or is it'd be really nice to see now, given what I see myself to be, how much love can express itself through this vehicle of a sense of a relationship with my father. That's a totally different thing, isn't it?
Yeah, and I figured if me and my dad are the same person or the same being, I don't have to do anything, right? Nope. So I realized that that was a manifestation, all these missions of feeling unworthy of peace and just being what I am. There was a feeling of, I can't be that already.
Also, ego's looking for a way to reconstruct itself. So in the subtle ones it goes for are the missions, you know, and if you kind of accept one because it feels right in your heart, it's like, oh, okay, if you like that, I've got a whole list. You know, you said something really mean to that guy 15 years ago, you really need to fix that.
Yeah,
you know, and it's got a long list. So it is normal, and you did the right thing, just feeling this has come from a real place. It's authentic. It feels natural. This one feels a little icky, you know, comes with guilt and shame. And maybe the way to heal those other relationships is to really look at this guilt rather than actually trying to do anything anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And when you see, if I heal my relationship with my dad, that's pretty much the whole of creation, because dad, God, me, same, you know, all in one self. So that's just that uprising. It wants to then move outwards into your life, to begin to spread outwards through your relationships. And that's relationship with money, relationship with time as well. You're not just with physical people, all kinds of things. This whole thing that happened after the satsang, I'd just like to tweak it a little bit. So was it a massive ego attack? Was it really trying to attack you? Or was it everything that's been craving the light suddenly saw the light and came rushing up for self-acceptance? And that's a lot of stuff, isn't it, within us? And it's important, this, because if we say, okay, I had this beautiful awakening 2 days where everything was just perfect, and then suddenly this big attack came, we're going to see that as we're doing something wrong or something negative happening. Really, in that openness of real seeing, everything that's needed love, ourselves, our anger, our shame, everything is going to want to come. And there's nothing to do with that. Some of them you might have to question, to contemplate a bit if they're a bit sticky or a lot sticky. But just knowing that's a natural process. All plants grow towards the light. All negative emotions want to turn back into peace. They're on their own journey too. all self-judgment wants to come back to self-love. And that's what happens. Ego says, oh, thank God, like literally, you've found your way home. Here, please help me with all this. But it's so eager. It's just like, here's all my stuff. Here's everything. I put it in a big bag for you, you know. But
so it's okay to do nothing with it, right? Because I couldn't do anything. I mean, I was
it's
just
too intense anyway sometimes.
survive.
Yeah, it'll settle down and you'll see most of it is transmuted in that mad rush anyway. What remains, you can look at one by one, just by continuing to see deeper and clearer what you really are. It's easier to see what you're not. It's just not true. I don't need to push it away because I don't even need to push it away because it's not true. It just wants acceptance, ego, and all of its crazy ideas. It cannot contemplate because it can't see the real divine self that we are. So all it can do is give you its stuff and say, please, can you resolve this for me? And you can do that easily as the self, the infinite self. What it feels like is this tirade of shame. Oh my God, your face is going to be all over YouTube. And, you know, believe me, I've been there. So, had to, because there's an opening, also something inside feels a little vulnerable, a little urge to protect. That's natural. Doesn't mean anything's going wrong, you know, but it's part of the process anyway. So everything that needs love is going to come back up. It might be intense, but you don't have to do anything with that. And there might be another rush after we've spoken. You know, everybody wants in on the party, right?
So basically when it comes up, and I guess that's why I wanted to mention it and get you validation, because I imagine it's going to happen again. So, but
not as intensely. And it can pass in seconds, like 30 seconds, if you don't resist it.
Right.
And
so
that's why I'm saying it's ego saying, thank you, please help me. Not here's how horrible you are. Because if you hold on to that idea that I was attacked, you're going to resist it next time it happens. It's actually the greatest blessing of all. It feels awful. It's actually one of the greatest spiritual blessings of all. When ego finally feels safe enough to say, here's my stuff. That's quite a humbling divine moment, isn't it? Because it's been like this with it for so long. Like, I don't feel good enough. I don't feel safe.
Okay. So just let it rise up and observe it and just.
Yeah. For me, it was just like, okay, anything that wants to, and it took some time before I was this willing. I don't have to like you, but I can love you and accept that you need to just come back into this peace. Of course, I'm never going to like feeling shame, but I can accept your existence and allow you to be.
Okay, yeah, that's helpful. Yeah, I wanted to not be scared because I was scared. I was like, oh no, that's going to happen again. And now I'm scared.
Yeah. It might be 4 or 5 times, but each one will be lesser, less intense, less duration, less resistance. And there's a link between those. If you can kind of, okay, not like, oh, okay, don't make it a mission. I'm going to feel all my stuff, you know?
Yeah.
Well, that's that too. Yeah.
Well, that happened yesterday. That's the other thing that I want to mention just before I see other hands. So I just want to mention one more thing, and then I have a quick question. I think you can probably answer it pretty quickly. But yesterday, so it seems like at work, everything is going wrong for the last few days. I'm making mistakes. I'm forgetting things. It's just like.
But you're judging yourself less.
And I think I'm less controlling, so I'm making mistakes, you know, so I'm expecting.
You have to make those mistakes and see that you don't judge yourself anymore before they can stop.
Okay. I figured it was part of the process. Yeah. So yesterday I had a really, really difficult day, and normally I live alone and I just love being at home by myself. I don't have a TV, so I'm often just in silence by myself. It's literally my favorite thing. But yesterday I was in a bus coming back home, and then suddenly I had the thought, oh, I'm going to be home alone. And then you know, I had like this tension and this anxiety and this fear right here. And I was like, what is this? It's literally my favorite thing to do. And I usually can't wait to get home after a difficult day. And
it's just to investigate this. It's just me and other, isn't it? I'm either alone or I'm with a lot of beings, and neither are true. Why we like being alone at home is because this idea of others doesn't bother us there, but still we have to transcend it eventually. You've always been absolutely alone everywhere. Whether your body's in a room with 1,000 other bodies or by itself makes really no difference. Just to investigate that, and then you'll feel the same whether you're in an airport or an ashram.
yeah, that's funny because I hadn't thought about that.
It's this loneliness, right? This loneliness, it got me for so long. I feel really lonely. Where are these other beings that I'm trying to, you know, that I feel lonely? Where are they? I have to really admit, I've either always been lonely, like completely alone, or admit now that I could never be lonely, whichever one feels most right. But I had to see it and look at it again and again.
Yeah, that's good, because really right now, when I look at bodies, in my mind, I think another me, but it still has the other sensation.
Yeah, it's still division. It's sneaky division, but it's still separation. So it's me, still me, still me, still
Yeah.
me, still me.
So basically, I just had a flash of basically, I think that the body is a being.
Yeah, the body's a body.
The body is an object.
Yeah, is it really?
Well, yeah, not really.
Next thing to investigate, right? Next thing. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, that's good. Oh, just one last question.
Real quick.
Yeah. It's just about forgetting. If you can speak real quick about why we forget, and we have to hear the same thing over and over and over again, because
there's energetic resistance in the system, in the body, in the emotions, in the mind, because of this idea that we're a separate being so believed. So this energy is going this way, for want of a better example, and the truth is going this way, and it's like trying to push through this thick, slow, dense energy, and eventually it finds its way through. It's like a fogginess of illusion that of course, if I believe something, I'm going to really resist hearing the opposite. So if I really believe somewhere inside my body, maybe not here now, but somewhere inside my system, that I'm a separate being, I'm going to half listen, not be able to fully take it in or retain it when someone says, naturally, that's not true. Or even when I have an experience that that's not true. So each time we see it and see it and see it, it's eating away at this resistance until it's all gone. And then it's like, you hear the same thing you heard last week, said the same way, and suddenly it's just obviously true, like really obvious.
So it's just a normal part of the process. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye.
Nicholas.
Hi.
Hi.
For a long time, I had problems applying myself because I guess I was trying to escape from trauma or something, like, and so I'm not neurotypical, so but I found something that I really feel called to and enjoy more than anything, and I'm creating something awesome. Honestly, I'm designing something awesome, but there's a creative element and an analytical element, and sometimes I get caught up in the details, and it becomes a heavy, dense thing that I'm not enjoying. There's more based on desire for the outcome, and also it becomes a doing. The doing sneaks up on me, and it becomes like I want to do it with flow and be in the moment when I do it. And I keep on coming out of the moment. And I know I've been forcing myself sometimes, or pushing too hard in a way that I've suffered as a result. And I keep getting these headaches, but when I concentrate, really after not much concentration at all, when I used to not get that, almost like it's meant to be happening to teach you something. But I don't know, like what I'm struggling is I want to be creative and write this or do this or create what I'm creating, like in a process that doesn't, you know, without going into all that sort of heaviness and where it's gives you headaches, or you know, you know what I mean already. So.
Yeah, writing the books I've written, that was a whole. It started off writing because I wanted to, and then it decided, you know, and each book was a process of learning to let go of any doingness with that process. As you get closer to the end of something, or you've been focused for a while, a lot of energy builds up because focusing attention, energy builds up. It's great. But if there's any idea of doingness in there, then that's resistance in the system, and the headaches begin to happen, or whatever way that shows up for us. So for me, I had to sort of train myself to stop and take a breath every now and again, and just to ask myself, why am I doing this? Like, why am I doing this? Just every 20 minutes, half an hour or so.
Okay.
That shifts the intention, the reason for doing
I'll
it.
ask why I'm doing it. But the thing is, it's like I get this inspiration sometimes, and I'm in this excited energy, this really excited energy.
Yeah.
And I've got inspiration, I'm writing it down, this and this and this on a piece of paper, and then it's like I'm going on full cylinders when I'm doing all like full on.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's like I burn out my energy so quickly doing that. Even when I'm excited. And
Actually, the burnout isn't from that. It's from the beliefs that are in the way, because there's this strong, powerful energy moving, this inspiration, excitement, creative energy flowing, as you said. And anything that's in the way or in resistance to that is going to slow that down. And that costs us a lot. It makes us very tired to it's like trying to hold back a tsunami.
question, is it my attachment to the outcome, or is it another question? I think it might be, but is it also like that I feel unworthy of it?
It could be both of those. For me, the creative process, writing especially, brought up both of those. A sense of time as well. I had to look at time, how long this is going to take. Am I really affected by time? It brought up several beliefs for me to look at, and that's why I was prompting about asking why I'm doing this. Because if I'm doing this just for the joy of it only, because it's so much fun, so inspiring, so uplifting, then it doesn't matter how long it takes. And ironically, I get it done much quicker, because I'll have the ability to focus quite intensely for quite some time. But if I'm doing it to get to an end, or for any other reason to prove myself worthy, then that begins to drain energy out of the system, stop this flow. So you've turned on the hose pipe, on the tap on the hose pipe on full, and it's gushing. And now we've got our foot on the hose pipe and the water's backing up behind it. And that's where it starts to hurt. The foot on the hose pipe is, I'm not good enough to do this, or something like that.
I know that I have this thing about wanting to save the world, like actually, like, I mean, it's kind of ridiculous really, but
we all do. We all do, right? The moment we get a little glimpse of who we really are, right, I'm going to take this. And
it's like what I'm creating, it's like, sorry, I'm interrupting. I want to hear what you said as well,
It's
but
okay.
it's like, it's not just, oh, what I'm creating is like, you know, I'm creating this, but it's going to be the best one in the world. And it's going to be my way of light work. It's going to be how I contribute to the awakening.
That's perfect. Don't let go of that.
But I know,
Just
but
find
I feel like
out,
that's one of the things.
who that me and my is fully. Who is it that's doing this work? Really? And this is where all creative genius comes from the depths of silence and stillness. And that when it flows, it feels euphoric, it feels blissful, it feels inspired, it feels purposeful, fulfilling, rewarding. I could go on forever. But it does, that fast flow of energy just kind of wash out all the beliefs that are in the way, that will come up, that are working in opposition to this.
Okay. I think I'll let the next person ask that question.
I think we've got what we need from that anyway. So yeah, thank you.
So,
Okay, Tassin, and then we'll leave it there for today. Hope I pronounced that correctly.
Yeah, it's Tazine. Yeah, you did.
Thank you.
I put my hand up and then down because I am terrified of being on camera.
Well, you've been very brave, let me say. You're doing amazing.
I feel like my question is a little bit of both of the last two questions we've just heard. So I feel like I had a very sort of deep seeing of my true nature or a oneness. And since then, and then I did have a sort of maybe a week where I felt, sounds silly to say, but I felt like I was in heaven or like a heavenly place.
Absolutely. Yeah.
In Tesco, and I was like, wow, Tesco.
Everyone's beautiful.
Yeah.
Everyone's beautiful. Everything's perfect. Yeah.
I was just watching people shopping, and I was like, yeah, I'm just shopping in heaven. This is great.
And then
yeah, it's been like a slow descent back into life. And it's been really strange because I feel like and Ghislaine was saying about an ego attack, I felt like something similar, but it wasn't vicious. It was more sort of,
it's slow and gradual. Yeah. And suddenly before you realize you're back in hell, you're shopping in hell.
yeah, kind of like a seductive, like, oh, I don't really care about anything. Like I am a student, training to be a therapist, and I have like essays to write, and I just don't really care about them. And deadline is approaching, and I'm like, don't have any sense.
So
Yeah.
So what?
There's a part of me that's like, but someone's got to write this. Like it's not just gonna.
Who's gonna write it then?
I don't know. I just feel like, what is the and the other part of it is like, up until this seeing, since 2017, I feel like I've been on some sort of seeking journey and meditating and all this stuff, and all of that even has sort of fallen away. Like I love meditating and I do it, but it's just whenever I want to.
There's the infinite self talking.
Yeah, well, it's also weird though, because maybe my actual self is like, no, but like all I want to do is just sort of watch TV. It's kind of like what you were saying, like watch TV and eat chocolate and shop.
And you'll do that for a while. I think I've binged like 7 seasons of something and on Netflix, just because I could.
Yeah.
And I'm not doing any of that stuff, that I used to do, but there was this feeling my way back through what naturally wants to happen right now. For a while that was just goofing off in general.
Yeah.
But when something had to be done, the body did it in its own timing.
I think it's about trusting that timing, I guess.
And if you can't trust, that's okay. You'll see. Let's say right now you need to go to the bathroom. You're not really sat there going, should I go or shouldn't I? When should I go? You just get up and go when you need to go.
Yeah.
And everything's happening like that and always has been. So mine says, oh my God, now I'm the infinite self. Like, who's going to get these essays written? And well, the self has always been doing them. It's just clearer now, more able to see what it actually is. And that's who has always been writing these essays.
But who's worrying about them?
Just thoughts.
Okay.
Just thoughts.
because it feels like I'm both. It feels like the part of me that it doesn't care, so to speak, is maybe the infinite self, and then there's these thoughts that also feel like very much a me.
Yeah, and
So
it's okay. It's okay. You don't have to pick one of those. Naturally, as you just kind of, oh yeah, he's both versions of me. This one's a little bit more pleasant to experience. This one not so much. But I'm not gonna try to choose, because if I try to choose one, I'm dividing myself into two. These just two different ways I can be infinite, formless, and peaceful, and everything's happening spontaneously, or I can be finite, limited, and doing everything and messing it up, or not messing it up, whatever. So you could play with this, and the natural, the self moves spontaneously. When something needs to be done, it'll be done.
Yeah.
Mine goes, yeah, but this essay is due in a week and I haven't started it yet.
Yeah. That's exactly what's happening.
It's trying to say, this is when I should be planning it. But the self will suddenly just get up and plan it.
Yeah.
And it'll be written in half the time, and it'll be amazing wherever it comes from inside. It's just like, whoa. Because it was the same infinite self that chose to start studying this as it's going to finish. Now you're just clearer about who's actually doing it. That's all.
And the other thing that I wanted to say was, so because I'm starting to be a therapist, like, and it's strange because there's a part of me, and I don't mean this in an unempathetic way, but
it's okay.
It might sound that way, but sometimes when I'm listening to people talk about their trauma and stuff, there's a part of me that's like, oh, but it's all fine. I won't say that to someone, of course.
No, I tried that and it didn't really work.
No.
You're not actually a separate being, and then just like, what?
Yeah. But then there's another part of me that's very much.
You can hold on to that sense that you're not a separate being. You don't say it to them, obviously, but because you know that, that's why you can help them even more. You know that there's not a person sitting in front of you telling you what they're suffering from. You know, it's thoughts talking about thoughts.
Yeah.
And from there, compassionate understanding arises anyway, that this being really believes himself to be separate, really feels himself to be separate, and all that goes along with that then is well, we know what that is, don't we? Suffering, etc. So because you're clearer, because you don't care in that way, in a personal way, you can help even more effectively. You care, but you're willing to see them as they already are, and that has a very transformational effect anyway on anyone. You might still speak the same dualistic words, let's see what we can do about this, or whatever.
That's the sort of hang up. I think I feel kind of like, oh, I don't know what to say, because in my
I never know what to say.
Yeah.
I'm finding out as we go.
Yeah.
It's much more fun.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess you're finding it fun. You've been doing it for a while, and I kind of,
at first it's like I hit the Zoom button and I hit record, and I'm like,
what am I gonna
what if not? So I'm like, welcome to Satsang, everyone. And inside I'm like, what am I gonna do? Just sit here quietly a little more, and we're gonna listen. And from the outside I look really zen. From the inside I was like, what am I gonna do? Oh my god. But then something just always comes.
Yeah.
And one time it didn't, and we just sat there quietly for a while. But it was perfect. That's what everyone seemed to need.
Yeah, because in my seeing, that a lot of sort of painful things about my childhood and all sorts of things came up, but then afterwards there was like a sort of plateau of like, oh, but that's fine, and it was really weird. And now I feel like I carry it, but then there's, again, that's the thought side of me. It kind of feels like, oh, but that's not the right way to think, that's somebody else's.
You need that. I mean, for me, there's a distant memory of just how bloody awful it felt to be a separate being, to think I was a separate being. It's still there. I remember it fades more and more each day, but I remember it was awful, and I remember it seemed very real. And that helps me to have compassion for someone who really still feels that they're suffering.
Yeah.
Even though I know they're not, they're already free. And you use that conceptual framework of the someoneness that you thought you were to relate. You actually use it as a vehicle to relate to someone else.
Yeah.
from that place. It's actually a very useful thing in the end.
And this might be you repeating yourself, so I apologize, but
That's okay.
so now that I'm kind of more, but I still very much feel like I guess a separate self, as in, well, in a way, yes, I feel like I'm a person moving around in the world and interacting with other people.
Me too.
And I want to get back to the feeling of looking at everyone and being like, hey, that's just me.
So don't push against the sense of separation. Sense of separation remains while our body's here,
Okay.
but you know it's not true. It's actually a useful thing. We can have this conversation as if there's two of us.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So don't push against that, and just gently open up. Leave that be right there in front of you. It's a vehicle like a car.
Yeah.
And you just, what other way, what part of me knows? And there's just a softening and an opening there.
Yeah. And I suppose it will just gradually get deeper as time.
If you make any attempt to push that sense of separateness away, you're dividing yourself into two.
Okay.
And then you suffer because you feel divided. It's not the sense of being a separate being. It's the fact, first of all, that we believe it's true. And then later we try to push it away.
Okay.
You can't push away something that isn't there.
Okay. Yeah, that's true.
It's a software program for the body mind to help you move around in the world. Very useful.
Mhm.
So just let that do its thing. Like right now it's doing its thing, having this conversation with me.
Mhm.
In the background, we're both just like,
Yeah.
it's fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's just, it seems paradoxical. How can I be someone and nothing at all at the same time? But you've always been doing that.
Yeah.
You just got both perspectives are coming more clearly into focus now.
Yeah.
This is what I've always been. That's what I seem to be for a while, and it's all good.
What about like when you're in just a bad mood and you're just being a bit of a Grinch? I guess
Just go for it. Have at it. Be totally grumpy, like
what it
full
is.
on, like really enjoy it, like totally, totally go for it.
Yeah.
You'll end up
Yeah.
just laughing so hard.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of had that as I had a week where I was a complete Grinch, and I was just, and then later that evening I was in my bed and I was kind of reflecting on the day, and I was just laughing because it felt really funny. Although
Sometimes it is fun, as long as you don't take it out on anyone, but the more you're just really having fun with it, like, and that's the problem with anything as a separate being. We don't fully do it, be it.
Okay.
We're angry, but we shouldn't be, or we're guilty, but we don't want to be. So let's just like totally be what we are.
Yeah.
If that's grumpy, irritable,
Yes. It was
you know.
in the tube and people were walking too slowly.
I don't like to speak to anyone in the morning before I've had my first cup of tea, and I thought that would go away after awakening.
Yeah.
But now it's like, actually, I like that. I can just sit with my, and then later, and I just fully embrace that's part of being this human being, isn't it?
Yeah.
So just be whatever you are in this moment.
Yeah.
Sometimes that'll be nothing at all. Oh, everything's fine, and then you're in Tesco's and everything's perfect.
Yeah.
And then sometimes that's someone being really grumpy and irritable, and that's perfect too.
Yeah.
You just don't try to choose.
Because choosing is dividing yourself.
Yeah, I can show up like this, infinite bliss and silence. I can show up as, wow, that person just ran over my foot with their trolley and stole the last carton of milk, and so and it all of those and everything in between. It's authenticity awakening, isn't it? Am I being whatever I am right now?
Yeah.
So right now you're being someone procrastinating about doing what you need to do. Can you fully go into that? See what happens? Like fully go into, okay, I'm going to really procrastinate. I'm going to like really make an art out of it.
Yeah.
See what happens. Yeah. So
thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you. And thank you all for your questions you sent in and for your asking today here on the session. It was absolutely fun and joyful. Namaste.